Hello and welcome to the Commander's Quarters. I'm your host Mitch, glad to have you here. Here at the Commander's Quarters, we're all about Commander on a budget. Today's episode is going to be a Commander quick take. On episodes like these, I give you my initial take on a newly spoiled Commander from an upcoming set. I'm going to be talking about a potential direction to take that Commander and possible cards to use for that build. This show and episodes like this one are possible because of viewers like you. So if you're looking for some easy ways to help support the show, make sure you like this episode and share it with friends. And make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Thank you to everyone who's already purchased our merchandise, it really does help support the channel. Another easy way to support this channel is by using our TCG Player affiliate links. So make sure that you're looking for those links in the description whenever you're buying a deck or just individual cards. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support. But before we really jump into this, I just want to give a quick disclaimer. On episodes like these, they are just initial quick takes. This Commander is just as new to me as it is to you. And because of that, I don't have a finalized deck build for this Commander yet. So the direction that I choose to take this Commander today might not be the same one that I do in a deck tech. And because of that, some of the cards I'm going to mention might not be in that deck either. Alright, now that we're on the same page, let's get into it. This Commander quick take is on Omnath, Locus of the Roil. Omnath is a 3/3 elemental that costs 1 green, blue, red. It says when it enters the battlefield, it deals damage to any target equal to the number of elementals you control. And then whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on target elemental you control. If you control 8 or more lands, draw a card. Elementals have been a tribe that have been dying for some support, and they finally get it in this set. This Omnath can definitely fit right into a Horde of Notions deck, but it also can be an effective commander in its own right. This Omnath rewards you for having a ton of elementals on the board and for getting lands into play. In these three colors, there are plenty of elementals that we can choose from, so we have a lot of options. So we're going to start off by running some elementals that can ramp us. Not only do these help us early in the game, but they can also trigger our commander once it's in play. Embodiment of Spring can be a great defender early, and we can also sacrifice it to ramp. And then Fertilid might be just the best elemental to work in combination with our commander. We can pay 1 into green to remove a +1/+1 counter from it to search our library for a basic land and put into play tapped. When that land comes into play, we can use Omnath's trigger to put a +1/+1 counter back on Fertilid. And on top of that, if we control 8 or more lands, we draw a card. So essentially, once we have this combination in play, this is a near unlimited source of ramp for just 2 mana. And once we're up to 8 lands, it's a card advantage engine too. Also in M20, we got Risen Reef, which is a fantastic inclusion in this deck. It says whenever it or another elemental enters the battlefield under your control, look at the top card of your library. If it's a land card, you may put it onto the battlefield tapped. If you don't put that card onto the battlefield, put it into your hand. So this essentially turns all of your elementals into coiling oracles. This can really get out of hand quickly, especially with elemental token generators. With this elemental tribal deck, we're also going to want some lords. Creeping Trailblazer is another great elemental from M20. It gives all other elementals we control +1/+0. On top of that, we can turn into a huge threat by pumping it. And then there's Incandescent Soulstoke, which is going to give all other elementals we control +1/+1. On top of that, if we want to, we can cheat an elemental in with its other ability. And then Master of Waves isn't an elemental, but it can definitely create a lot of them. When it enters the battlefield, we create a number of 1/0 blue elemental creature tokens equal to our devotion to blue. And because it gives all elemental creatures we control +1/+1, those are effectively 2/1 elementals. Outside of lords, we've got plenty of other ways to pump our elementals too. Forgotten Ancient's just a very powerful card in a lot of decks. We can put all of its counters on a creature or two, or we can spread them out to our entire team. And then Cytoplast Rootkin can put a +1/+1 counter on each other creature we control with a +1/+1 counter on it. Bloomhulk essentially does the exact same thing when it comes into play because it allows us to proliferate. So these types of creatures really benefit from our commander being able to put counters on creatures. These creatures allow us to strengthen our current board state. But we're also running some other cards to help us grow our team. Sylvan Awakening says, until your next turn, all lands you control become 2/2 elemental creatures with reach, indestructible, and haste. They're still lands. This may be a temporary effect, but we can really grow our army quickly with this. So if we cast our commander after we cast this, it's going to deal a ton of damage to a single target. Or if we have some lords in play, we can easily swing out and deal a ton of damage. A longer lasting effect that really works well with this deck comes from Zendikar's Roil. Basically, whenever we have a land come into play, we get a 2/2 elemental. Again, land ramp is something that we want to focus on with this deck anyways because of our commander's ability. So we're also going to be running Roil Elemental, which has a very powerful effect. Essentially, whenever a land comes into play, you get to steal a creature. With just a few landfall triggers, this can easily take over the game on its own. This color combination is a fantastic one for not only elementals, but also for landfall. So this Omnath looks like it has plenty of options when it comes to building an effective deck. And as with any budget deck, there are always ways that we can improve on it. So let's look at some potential reasonable upgrades for this deck. Flamekin Harbinger is essentially a 1-mana elemental tutor. Avatar of Growth is essentially going to ramp everyone by 2 lands for only 3 mana. And Omnath Locus of Rage is an absolute bomb in this deck. It's going to give us a 5/5 elemental every single time a land comes into play under our control. And then whenever it or another elemental dies, it's going to deal 3 damage to our creature or player. But I really want to hear your thoughts on this take, so why don't you let me know in the comments below. And if you haven't already, make sure that you check out our quick take on Yarok, the desk created here. And make sure that you're following us on social media for more updates and sneak peeks on future episodes. Links to our social media accounts can be found in the description. Also in the description below is a link to the Commander's Quarters Patreon page, and I just want to say a quick thank you to the patrons who have subscribed so far. There are many benefits to being a patron for the Commander's Quarters, including being able to vote on future commanders for deck techs. There's even a general level tier where you get your own personalized deck tech dedicated to you. I truly couldn't do this without all of your support, so from the bottom of my heart, thank you. If you haven't already, make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel. And while you're at it, check out some of our other episodes on budget deck techs, Quest for Quarters episodes, Commander topics, and Creators Quarters. And with that, I'm out of here. Thanks again, and have a good one.